Hello, and welcome to this episode of Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, Communications and Marketing Director for the City of Hampton. And today we're going to be talking about one event that has two different aspects. There'll be a free performance that everyone is invited to, but it's also really about how the spoken word or poetry or writing and performing can change a person and help be a creative outlet, particularly for youth. So today we have with us Marie St. Clair.
Hello.
And Walter Leon Davis Jr., who from here on out will be known as Walt Leon, which is his stage name. Welcome, and thank you for coming by today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
First, I'm going to have Marie introduce the program and give us a little details about what it is.
Well, this is our third annual Poetry Slam, and this year we're calling it Slamming to Your Destiny. And it takes place on April 14th at West Hampton Community Center, 1638 Bryfield Road in Hampton at 6:30 p.m. And this is, like I say, it's our third annual event. And what we're trying to do is to bring young people together through the community, ages 12 to 21, who are spoken word artists. And this program allows them an opportunity to share their work, have other people to hear them, a greater audience, and to gain experience and to improve their craft by listening to such great artists as Walt Leon. I always call him Walt Leon, it's Walt Leon, but I call him Walt Leon. We also have as our Poetry Slam facilitators. Now, can I explain what a Poetry Slam is?
I was going to say, yes, please do.
Okay, a Poetry Slam is where the facilitators will choose audience members and they will be the judges. And the participants will get to do 3 different pieces. And they're judged each time that now if I'm wrong somewhere, you make sure you correct me. They are judged on each piece and the highest score wins. So
this is really a competition. It's not just a performance.
No, it is a competition for the young people 12 to 21 that participate and register, $5 only, to participate in the contest.
So it's like Poetry Idol, right?
Yes, it is.
Because really the audience gets to help judge.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly. So we have as our facilitators, we're bringing in 2 of the greatest known spoken word artists of the generation, 13 of Nazareth and Godchild the Omen. 13 is in Northern Virginia and Godchild is from Norfolk, Virginia. We're also going to have participating David Godwin from the Teen Center, where they do a poetry night, and Walt Leon, and our host for Music and Poetry Night, Dreesen Ruckett.
So this is truly an event that's entertaining and informative and fun and free.
Definitely.
So that's part
Definitely.
A.
Right.
But part B is I want to talk to Walt a little bit about what it's like, and you're out of the 21 age range at the moment, but
Yes,
but growing up you went to Bethel High School.
Yes.
And you were not a big child.
Not at all. 5'2", about 165 pounds, all through high school.
And you were trying to play football and basketball?
Yes, I made the football team, got cut from the basketball team every year.
5'2". And you also said you were a bit of a loner in high school.
Yes, I knew a lot of people because I played sports, but then the things that I was interested in, it's not the same things or had the same interests of everyone else of my age group or my genre, so it was pretty much, I was by myself outside of school, in school. I was pretty much by myself, standing against the wall, so I just write a lot.
So you wrote a lot. Honestly, I wrote a lot in high school. It was a literary magazine at the time.
Right.
We didn't have this performance outlet as well, and I probably would have been too shy to do it anyway. But how did you get involved in that? It really started with the writing piece.
It really started with the writing, and it's pretty much was, you could talk to people, and sometimes you talk to people and you can notice that they're just spacing out and they're not really paying you attention, and you'll look for a response and they'll go off somewhere else and start another conversation. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things where I started writing music, but then it turned into, okay, the spoken word pieces become more effective when they can hear your words and they're not listening for the beat, they're just listening to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And then you're saying the same things you were saying in conversation. But now if you're on a stage in front of people behind a microphone, now they're just sitting there listening, and you'll be surprised at the response you get from the audience. Right. And I didn't realize how effective it was at first until I went to the Juvenile Detention Center in Richmond. I performed a piece up there, and when I was leaving, one of the guys stopped me and said, it made me want to change my life and think about what I'm actually doing. So it's the same things I've talked to plenty of people about that didn't listen. You do it creatively, and spoken word piece can make them listen and want to start exercising their talents and writing more. And when you write, you think more about what you're doing before you actually do it.
So how did this help you well, first of all, you were writing what? Poetry, journal, music. How did it start for you?
Just writing down my thoughts, period. And those turn into songs. And then you can take the verses from a song and perform. If you see a lot of famous artists, they'll take a song and perform it a cappella. And that's pretty much what spoken word is, just perform it a cappella. And you could change the delivery of it, the speed, the rhythm. And that's pretty much how it started.
So it can almost be rap without a background beat or music. And sometimes you probably can do it with a background beat.
Right.
I mean, I've seen people who do.
Right.
Okay, so for you in high school, feeling a little bit like a loner, this was your creative outlet and your way of keeping in touch with yourself. And
Yes.
All right, so after high school, you graduate from Bethel, then tell us what happened.
I went to Virginia Union and played football for 2 years. Got there and the coach there was some funny business going on with the scholarship money, so I transferred to Ohio University because I wasn't paying all of that out of my pocket. Went to Ohio University and walked onto the basketball team and played there for 3 years, my last 3 years of school.
And how tall are you now?
6 foot.
You grew from that 5'2" high school kid.
I grew my freshman year of college.
Okay,
Wow.
Big change, all right. So you also kept up your writing though at Ohio.
Yes, ma'am.
And majored in, what was that?
Business administration.
All right, so then you came back to Hampton and you're working.
I came back to Hampton because my granddad was sick and my mom asked me, well, can you stay with him for a little bit and make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do, because he will still go out and try to do construction.
Oh.
And he's not supposed to be outside, so she asked me to come back and watch him, and he's doing very well. And now I'm working at TRG Customer Solutions, which is the Verizon call center.
And how did you get hooked up with the programs Marie runs at West Hampton?
I was coming in there to actually work out at West Hampton.
So it was more of an exercise initially.
Yeah, so
okay.
it was an exercise initially, but I was getting ready for a basketball tryout, and she was talking. I seen the flyer actually because they had music and poetry night flyer, and we started talking about the music and poetry night because I asked who do I talk to about getting involved in this, and I performed the first one. She invited me back to the next one. Then myself and another artist that we call Royalties, her name is Tanisha Drummond, she actually came back, we performed together, and ever since then we just been coming back and doing more and more performances, and the program has actually grown since we first came.
And you being, nothing personal, a little closer to the age range of the kids you're trying to reach here. I mean, I think that must help. You can speak to them in a way that Marie or I couldn't.
Yes, and I know how I feel because I was the younger kid that if my parents told me to do something, I thought they was telling me just to get on my nerves and be strict. But then when someone like my older sister or someone that was older that I looked up to, when I was in middle school, someone that was probably a senior in high school, they told me the same thing. I'll take heed to what they're saying because I think, okay, they understand because they just went through this not too long ago. And growing up, you just think, okay, parents old, you don't want to listen to them. So.
But I do want to say our music and poetry night, which is every third Thursday of the month, is open for everyone. So we have young children there that are in elementary school. We have had singers and poets 60 plus years old. So our open mic is one of the few that caters to everybody. So we don't just do spoken word or poetry. We also have music, we have singers, musicians, dancers, a little bit of everything.
But that's quite a diverse group.
It is. You never know. You never know what you're going to get. Exactly.
It makes it family friendly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hope it is, family friendly.
Definitely.
Well, how does it feel to you to be that sort of role model for high school kids?
Sometimes it feels like it's a lot of pressure because some things that you would normally do, now you have to think there's people watching you now, so you can't do them. You have to not act a different way. You can still be yourself, but you have to conduct yourself in a more responsible manner and think about your actions more before you actually do them. So it brings on responsibility, but it helps you as far as being a person as well.
Well, that's what I was going to ask too, is why you do it. That's a lot of giving back to the community and a lot of time that working with kids. What does it do for you?
Because I actually do it because the person that I looked up to growing up was shot. So like not having them there, so that's when you start feeling lonely, and the person you talk to about everything is no longer there. The person that gives you advice, they're no longer here. So having a positive role model in your life that's older, that can teach you stuff that they went through, mistakes that they made so you don't make them. That's something I don't want another child to go through, that if I can keep them from going through what I felt. So I will just continue to be there for other, I wouldn't say children or teens growing up, so they don't feel that feeling. And I have joy from everybody else being happy, so.
And part of it is too, I mean, when you're a performer, you need to perform. And
yes.
So that gives you whatever it does give you. What does it give you?
It's a mixture of feelings. When you first get up there, you're nervous. No matter how many times you perform, when you first get up there, you're nervous. But then once you start performing and you see people like to go from slouched down in their chair to sitting up, and now they leaning forward and then they standing and clapping. It's just, it's an exciting feeling. It's pretty much like on a roller coaster. When you're going up, you're nervous. And once you go down on that big drop, after the first couple words, it feel like that big drop. But then the rest of the ride is pretty much turns and twists, and you just feel excited and you're screaming the whole time. So it's just like you're screaming inside on a roller coaster.
That is a wonderful explanation. I've never heard someone describe it like that before. That is something that, well, most of us can relate to. I love roller coasters. And I was envisioning, while you were talking about that, that's really explains why you're a writer and a performer. He can explain things in a way that is vivid and real. Exactly. Well, we're going to talk a little bit longer, but we are going to ask you to stick around after this is over and do a performance for us.
Okay.
And you were talking about one particular piece that you wrote called
Questionable America.
And a little bit of the background on that is?
When I was at school in Ohio University, 3 of my cousins back here got shot. They were shot down and killed, and it was a thing where I started questioning how we view life as Americans and the actions that we take. Do we actually think about them? And another show that I watch a lot is The First 48, and just seeing the things that goes on up there and the reason that they killed somebody or the reason that the action was taking place, like the action that was taken. I just questioned our thoughts as Americans with all the freedom and everything that people in history went through to get to the point we are now. It sort of feel like the actions that we do or responsible of sort of feel like a step back. And they already went through everything so that we can come together as people. And instead of becoming stronger with unity, we pretty much get weaker by competing with each other. So Questionable America sort of just questions everything.
Now, I have to tell you, that is an incredibly mature reaction for a young college student to have to a pretty horrible life experience. I mean, a lot of people would have shut down or would have gotten angry. How did you get to the point of being able to write that and to stand up in front of people and share it?
My initial reaction was actually shut down. Like, I didn't skip classes or anything, but I went to the gym a lot and just shot basketball and with headphones and music on. And my initial reaction was shut down. I sort of stopped trusting people because it sort of felt like everybody that you were close to or closest to are now leaving. So who do you trust? And people that you thought were there for you are no longer here. So it took a lot of like prayer, and then I had a lot of support as far as family and then friends, people there for me that knew what I was going through, and they know I'm not one to do a lot of complaining. I would just get quiet. When something's wrong, I get quiet. So when they noticed I was real quiet and I wasn't joking and smiling like I normally was, so they started talking to me, and then I eventually started writing it down because I still didn't know who to talk to. So it's pretty much like my notebook is who I was talking to. And I was writing it down as if the people that I used to talk to can read it up from heaven. So then it just turned to speaking out so that other people can not feel what I felt.
Right. And I bet it helped that you were used to writing, that you had that form of self-expression before the traumatic event, because you wouldn't have started after that necessarily, but that you had already used that as your form of self-expression or communicating or dealing with things.
Yes.
Probably is a huge help.
A great help.
It's still tough though. Wow.
Yes. Every year around the time around where they got killed, I still sort of have that moment at first in the morning, but then I pray and get my day going because I know they will want me to be happy and still live my life accordingly. So I still try to live life normally.
Well, that's an inspiration. It's an inspiration to, you know, the teens that you work with and the younger people, but really to everyone. I think that's pretty amazing. Marie, could you recap for us when this event is and where it is?
Definitely. It is on April the 14th at 6:30 p.m. West Hampton Community Center, 1638 Bryfield Road, Hampton,
And that's
Virginia.
the big tall building where you can see the rock wall.
Right, exactly.
It's a beautiful building.
Exactly. And I just want to say that when he was talking about being able to express, and you were talking about the maturity, it's so many of our young people that are truly touched. And I just don't want to just say young people. There's a lot of people, period, who are touched by a lot of events that happen in the world. And that's why it's just wonderful to be able to offer creative outlets through our programming to allow that freedom of expression. But again, going back to the night, is the Poetry Slam is on April 14th, and it's for young people for that event only, 12 to 21, $5 registration fee. And the winner can win up to a $100 gift card. So that's a pretty nice thing if you're a young person.
There's some incentive there.
Definitely.
In addition to getting to perform, you've got a monetary prize, which is
exactly.
great.
And we want people to come out and support these young artists and to give their support to the art, because it's wonderful to have that audience to perform in front of.
And as you said, if you're not in that age range, there are other opportunities to perform. And maybe people want to go to a couple before they feel comfortable getting up
and that's fine
in front
too.
of the group.
But the love and the energy in the room is so positive and so strong. We have people all the time that say, I wasn't going to do anything, but I feel so comfortable, I want to sing. So so our music and poetry night is every third Thursday at 7 o'clock.
Okay, and if people forget that, they can always call 311 and get the information, 727-8311 from a cell phone, 311 from a landline. And I want to thank you both for coming by.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
We're going to officially close Round Robin, but Walt Leon is going to stick around and do a performance for us after the show. So thank you all for watching this episode, and stay tuned for the performance.
Hey, Robin, how was your trip?
Jordan, hey! Jordan, it was fantastic. Man, everybody ought to spend a week at Grunland Creek Park. Man, Hampton really does have it all.
It sure does. And speaking of things Hampton has, here's your meal that I've had for the last week.
Jordan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, your neighbors helping you watch out for your property is one of the things I love about living in Hampton's neighborhoods.
Oh, no problem, Robin, anytime.
So, Jordan, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been attending Hampton's Neighborhood College, and I've been really enjoying it. And DeAndre joined the NYAB, and he's liking that too. What's wrong? Should I call someone?
We're in a flood zone now. This is horrible. Well, how do you feel about all this?
Oh yeah, I got that letter last week and I already vented. And once I calmed down, I called my friend and got some advice. And they told me to go to hampton.gov for more information.
Where?
Hampton.gov. They have all the facts that I needed.
Yeah, like the fact that this is a conspiracy to take my money.
Actually, a multi-year project to re-examine Hampton's flood zone has just been completed by FEMA. They even have a map so you can see if the changes affect you. You know what? Just ask the fairies.
Who?
The fairies, the 311 fairies.
Jordan, what are you talking about?
The 311 fairies, they have all the information that you need.
What?
All you have to do is say, fairies, give me some information on the property flood map.
I'm not going to do that.
Trust me, just ask the question.
All right, Jordan. Fairies, I need information about the Hampton flood plan.
Well, I'm glad you asked. If you received a letter, it means one of two things. You were in a flood zone and now you're out. And for those who fall into that category, congrats.
Or you weren't in a flood zone and now you might be. If you fall into this category, there's some things you need to know.
If you have a mortgage from a federally regulated lender, then by law you are required to carry flood insurance. Contact your insurance agent to find out if you're protected under the grandfather option.
Now, if you live in the flood zones and don't have a mortgage, FEMA recommends that you get one since most homeowners insurance policies do not cover damage due to flooding. You can get more information if you go to hampton.gov.
Where'd they come from?
I don't know. They just come up every time you ask a question.
So there'll be a little more than 2,000 people in Hampton who will be in the flood zone and will need proper coverage. And at the same time, approximately 3,000 residents will be out of the flood zone and will no longer need coverage. They should check with their banks and insurance agencies since they may not be informed about the change.
Excuse me, why are you guys here?
I always have time to help Hampton citizens. But next time, call 311. We fairies can't be everywhere.
Wow, that's great. I'll be sure to go to hampton.gov and get all my information about the flood zone.
You have questions, we have answers. Ferries are standing by. 311 or outside the area, 727-8311.
We are blessed just to live in America. We have freedom of speech, religion, etc. But we'd rather steal from each other just to better us, bringing others down, leaving families in the gutter. It's been all about colors like a box of Crayola. America been crying, but this is the shoulder. The streets have a virus about as deadly as Ebola. Thugs trying to take out their kingpin like a bowler. Instead of patiently waiting, they walking with Satan. They trying to make a name so they can say they amazing. Everybody smoking weed just to say that they blazing, killing their brain cells, the memories erasing. Lincoln gave Emancipation Proclamation. King died to put it into this segregation. Foreigners take advantage of immigration. But for this black on black crime, we could have stayed on the plantation. I tell stories using my imagination, thinking if this happened, we could start a celebration. If people of power shared the same obligation, we could really pledge of allegiance to be one nation. I'm trying to show y'all the picture is a lot bigger, but we rather terminate like Schwarzenegger. Hitler and the Jews, Caesar and Brutus, but Jesus still never turned his back on Judas. From the Crips to the Bloods, to the Latin Kings, to the Haitians, they should all have the same dream. Calm down. Man, we have to cure all this drama. We could join forces like Palin to Obama, Jay-Z to Nas. It's never too late, but I wish it could have been George Bush and Osama. This would give the world an exceptional feeling. It's time for change. I think we need a desperational healing. Questionable America.